1, 2, 3. Welcome to Strong Personalities. I'm your host, Yanni Bear, and today I am here with Lucas Hatton. I want to bring up some of your accomplishments lately. You got first at America's Strongest Man 2023. You got second at North America's Strongest Man 2023. You got second at Arnold's Amateur 23. You got second at North America's Strongest. You got fourth at OSG 22 with OSG coming up too. Did I get all that right?
Yeah, and the fourth at OSG might as well be second. So the running joke is
Tell me
like,
about
I got
that.
a lot.
I'm not familiar with that.
Oh, top three get the direct invites to Giants Live.
Okay.
So as far as the goal of getting there, fourth might as well be second.
That
right?
makes more sense.
I just bring that up. I got a running joke with my gym that I'm the best in the world at getting second. I just keep doing it at bigger and bigger shows. They call me the silver bullet. Like,
I don't know if I like that.
Yeah, no, they talk some trash, but that's why I had this little chip on the shoulder for that first win. There's a lot of excitement, a lot of built up frustration getting that first place. So America's was a big deal for me.
I believe it. So let's talk about that because, again, before we started this, we actually mentioned how we've crossed paths before. 2022, I was commentating for Beerstone where you got fifth.
Yeah.
And then in the last year and a half, you've just launched up, but it wasn't like an overnight success in the last year. I know that you've been working towards this for 5 years now?
I think my first show was 2018. And I did one a year, kind of screwing around. I would do this I'm kind of a powerlifter, kind of a strongman thing. And then 2020 forced me to really just do strongman because the outdoor comps just kind of made it possible. And that's when I did my first national. So really dove in both barrels for strongman in 2020.
All right. Yeah. So we talked about people making a little bit, poking fun at you because of calling you the silver bullet, getting all those second places. What has been the difference between those second places and then that first place you recently got?
The joke I'd like to say is I didn't prep for America's Strongest Man.
That's wild.
I've been laughing with my coach. So we're just never going to prep again. The one that, and he's like, no, you do shut up. We're going to prep like normal. No, but honestly, dude, the best thing that ever happened to me is I never won. Back to college sports and high school sports. I have a whole entire career of being really close. And I think that's made me one of the best learners in the room. And I'm so thankful that I didn't win until now. There's scenarios where I could have gone pro a year earlier if I hit a certain bag throw at nationals, or I could have, there's all those almosts. Looking back at it now, it's if I would have gone to that next level at that time, I probably wouldn't be as good as I am right now. Right. I don't think a meteoric rise to the top level would have been good for me. And that's fine. It pissed me off at the time, but now I understand it. Right. Just a slow crawl. Yeah.
All right. So you didn't prep for this. What made you decide to just wing it and not prep? That's a weird one at your level.
Okay. So context. So we were planning out the year, and where I'm at right now is kind of this pivotal point where a lot of guys get stuck, and we just don't know how to get that first invite, don't know what to do. So a couple months ago, after North America's, we were OSG has a direct guaranteed invite to OSG, and that's to Giants, and that's kind of the direct path into that major circuit, right? America's in the past had that kind of invite. Don't really know why it doesn't now. There's, I don't want to speculate because I wasn't there for the history of what happened, right? But there's a lot of guys who made it to Worlds off of America's in the past, but it's not that anymore. And I knew that going in. So I was as good as the money is for America's, and as much as I want that title, I'm going to put all my eggs into the guaranteed invite. And then 2 weeks out, I had some major life stuff happen that I was planning on some money coming in, and as the small business owner that coaches kind of and does strongman full time, I don't make much money. So I was planning on this, and it didn't come in. It's nobody's real business here, why or whatever. It was just didn't happen. And I was like, you know what? These are my favorite events. I'm going to give America's a shot. like honestly, if I was to design a show of like what would I love to do, it would be America's. So it's like if there was a show I might not need to prep for, it's those events. And it was kind of reckless, kind of dumb, and I would have felt real stupid if I didn't pull it off. But even third place was $5,000. It was incredible money the Olympia put up for this thing. So it's
Yes.
like top three, and I was just hedging my bets. Like even if I get third, I'm, it's worth the trip, right? I made a little bit of money. So we did it, and it worked out, and it was couldn't have been better, man. But I think something that was cool was it was one of the first shows. Like there was no pressure because I just didn't care. Like, it's not that I didn't care. I didn't prep, and
You were
but in
playing with house
past,
money. Yeah, you were
sure,
playing with
yeah,
house
yeah,
money. Yeah.
and in the past, like I'm not to say pressure got to me because it really hasn't, but it was like I was lighter at this show, just easy, just smooth. And the thing we kept saying was like, I would be like, I want to win the next event, and Alec was like, just do what you can do, and that's going to be enough. And each event was just do what I could do. That's going to be enough. Like they weren't my fastest performances possible, but it was enough in each event to win. So, and that just felt good, man. It was just haven't been that dialed in competing in a long time.
So, like you said, you came in lighter, like mentally, like
Mm-hmm.
just emotionally, like it was less
Yeah,
weight on your shoulders because you weren't prepping for this. What are you going to take from this? No prepping. Obviously, you're not going to no prep for future
sure,
competitions. But
sure,
what are you going to take from this and apply it for future preps to help balance it out?
sure. I think it's the like I say I didn't prep, but I did prep. My prep was the last 5 shows where I had I think 4 out of 6 of those events exactly, almost on the same equipment because I'm still in that like Strongman Corp ecosystem, right? Like I've used the
Yes.
Ukrainian deadlift at the Arnold. I've used the power stairs. I know how to do an axle. I've done a lot of dumbbell. A yoke's a yoke, right? Like, and I think it's as getting into this more mature phase of my career, you see guys, they'll get that Giants invite 2 weeks ahead and they got to go fill in the spot, or they, maybe SEL reaches out. And I think it's like, I'm not always going to get real thorough preps for every show in the future, but I got to take those opportunities. And I think it's just, this show is kind of proof of concept that like I've built up this base beneath of like, in these events, I will do probably this level if I'm not hurt and in shape. And it's just trusting that that's true, because it is a little scary going into a show not knowing that yeah. But I think it's just like I'm 11 shows into competing. I think it's 11, and that's a decent amount, and I just need to lean into that experience.
So, I want to touch on two things. First, what makes up that base? Like, what athletic background do you have that makes up that base? Because I know it's not just strongman. I've seen
Yeah,
some other stuff from you, but tell me about that.
sure. I was a football player basically 6th grade till the end of college, and I started doing track for the same reason that a lot of throwers do. I was really bad at baseball. Um, like my dad, as a very supportive dad, was like, after we went like 10-1 in like a 7th grade baseball, he's like, you should try track next year. And turns out that was the sport I did till the end of college. So I threw shot put, discus, and hammer, and that was honestly between football and track, but mostly track. Like I fell in love with the training
Yeah.
almost more than competing. Like I really enjoyed competing, but it's like when football was done, I was ready to be done. When track was done, I thought I was ready to be done, and I started coaching track right out of college. And I would get done with practice, and I just start throwing, and I was like, "Wait, there's something wrong here. Like I'm enjoying coaching, but I'm not ready to be done competing."
Mhm.
And as like a
I mean,
D3,
yeah, I saw that for your birthday. So I did a little research. So I
sure,
saw that on
sure.
your birthday, you actually went to just throw some
Yeah,
shot put.
I still go throw. And it's like as a D3 thrower, like I was okay, I was good, but like I'm not gonna go and do like open track, like pro track. I'm nowhere close, right? But where I was close to being quote unquote elite was in my lifting, right? And out of college, I was like, okay, I'm already doing weightlifting movements. So I did basically one a summer Olympic lifting meet. I did one a year powerlifting meet, and then I found strongman. And so I had that base of a lot of Olympic lifts and shot put, which I'm so thankful for. Like that is my biggest asset that I think leaned into strongman, especially overhead. Like overhead is a basically ringer event for me, aside from like if Trey Mitchell's at the show, right?
Which you went against at the
which,
North Americas, right? Yeah.
yeah, which
Yeah,
that
makes
was
sense.
cool, man. Like, when you're head to head against one of the dudes that is like one of your heroes in the sport, like, I know we're not that much different in age, but dude, like, I've been watching him for years, and like,
Because
it's
he's been
cool,
doing it since he was a teenager, pretty
dude.
much.
Yeah. He went straight to it, and he's damn good, and he's still getting better. Like, the injury, like he'll be back from it. He will
Yeah.
be. Like that dude lives this thing. But yeah, like that little bit of experience in weightlifting, little bit of experience in powerlifting, and it just all kind of led into strongman. And now in the last 2 years, I left the job that I was working way too much at. I used to run a security company, and then I got in with two of my buddies. They had already started Dungeon, and I when I first quit my job, I was coaching a little, and they're like, "You can sweep the floors and help us out, but like we don't make any money yet, so like you can do that for like minimum wage." I'm like, "Dude, awesome! I hate my job. Let's do this."
Minimum
And
wage
now,
never sounded so good.
no, it's great, and it was very uncomfortable. But then like 2 years later, they let me buy into the business and partner with them. I coach more, but like the cool thing about these last 2 years is I have the most like strongman time on implements. Like anyone who works at a strongman gym has so much more time on implements than anybody else. Like I feel like just my ability to just pick up random stuff because I just have to put it away. Like
Yep.
sandbags aren't anything, man. Like I got to move a 300 bag because it's time to leave and go home. You know what I mean? Like so it's kind of been this perfect storm of like good coaches and a variety of sports that kind of built the base that is now what I do in strongman.
Okay.
And I've
So we've talked about the environment, right? You have the right
yeah
environment for strongman in the last few years. What
yeah.
about your supporting cast? Who makes up your supporting cast?
I mean, my two partners at the business. So I've got Ryan Terry. If you want to talk to like an awesome personality, he's a good one.
I feel like
That
he
man.
coaches everybody I talk to. Is that
You
who
might
I'm
be
thinking
thinking of
about?
somebody else. No,
Never mind.
so
I take it back.
of the three of us, there's Saul Peterson, there's myself, and Ryan Terry. Saul is the damn near face of the business, just because he's basically everyone that comes to Dungeon. He's their first coach, like all the novices, all the newer folks, and then he has his like kind of elite crew that he brought the biggest group out of all of our coaches to nationals. Like, so I mean, that man coaches a ton, but he just like he's the first guy you interact with and come in the door. Just awesome guy. And then Ryan, he's on business number 3 or 4. He's my roommate now. Like we live together. We're all in on this thing. And that man is up at meetings at 4 a.m. and still seems to be on meetings at like 1 a.m. and sleeps somewhere in the middle.
Yep. Naps,
But like,
man, they're important
dude,
when you're running a business.
I look up to both those dudes, and they've basically like I'm not dumb enough to know that like me getting to like sweep the floors and be the partner that like gets paid to be here. It's not much, but like they're basically sponsoring me to do this. They're like,
Oh,
you need to
that's
do
huge.
this. That's basically what it is, and like that's like I'm the most thankful person in the world for like that belief that those two put in me because like I mean, in a little bit too, like uh, they're hoping I can put us on the map a little bit with the bigger shows too. But I mean, but it's my gym too. I mean, I got my livelihood
Yeah.
tied up in this place. And I mean, I could go on for days about just all the people that are here. And my coach, dude, Alex the man. He moved across the country to like coach me and Aaron and a couple other people over here. Alec, he's just, dude, he's at every session. Like, yeah, the man, like he's one. Like if I got married tomorrow, that man be standing next to me. Like I would honestly probably all three of those dudes. Like, and I'm
Yeah.
just
Well, I
so
figured,
so
yeah.
blessed for this community, man. Like, it's cool. Like, I got like the hashtag I use kind of jokingly, especially on the days that suck, is like best job I ever had. Like the movie Fury, like they're sitting in the tank about to die, and they're like best
Yep.
job I ever had. And that's kind of how it feels sometimes when it's like, oh shit, like a pipe broke or something at the gym, and you're there at 11 at night. But like, this is the best job I ever had, and like these people are awesome.
What
Like,
about when it comes to family? Obviously, you've been in an athletic background, so they've seen you compete. But I feel like this one is probably the most niche sport so
yeah,
far. Does somebody
yeah.
flick you off?
Yeah. So I'm in the office of the gym, and this happened on Strongest Opinions too. I had 3 or 4 people come by and flip me off as well. So that is just the environment I'm in. That's
I
Rachel.
actually made a
She's
point
great,
of watching you because I wanted to see if I could
Sean.
catch when people were flipping you off. Yes,
dude.
awesome.
Yeah, our office space is all windows all the way around. So like everyone's training out there right now. But yeah, sorry, go ahead. You were
No,
talking
no, you're
family.
good. So tell me about your family, like, and how they've been like supportive, or maybe not supportive, with the sport of strongman.
Sure. Dude, I mean, like I hit the lottery with parents. They're the best. They're quite a bit older. Like I'm 28 and my parents are I think 71 and 69. My mom turned 69 November 11th, so just a couple days ago.
Were you a surprise? Be honest. Were you a surprise?
No, the term they
Okay.
use is double miracle, which is hilarious. My brother was the miracle. I'm the double miracle. As in, I just don't think they thought it was like logistically an option, and and they did. But
Surprise.
they had kids basically at 40, and yeah, dude. But I hit the lottery with them. Like my dad worked a ton, but like he's that guy that would like be working in the other side of the state during the week, and then would be on time for the football game on Friday night. Like
Oh, that's
they've
awesome.
just traveled for all my sports. Like in college, they didn't miss a track meet. They'll whine about track because track is admittedly boring as hell. They would sit around for 12 hours in the cold to watch me throw like 12 times or 18
Yeah.
times if there's a final. Like, yeah, it was kind of dumb, but they're used to like that's their thing. Like they've always it's not even an option to them to miss it. And then now that like strongman's been my thing the last few years, they're retired now, so I'm their excuse to travel.
Aw.
And they come like, and everyone just kind of knows at this point. I was like, my dad's going to be in the front row, and he knows a surprising amount about strongman as like an armchair fan. But he's in it now. He's tracking times with Alec, like in the front row. My mom is taking shaky videos, like they're not good. She's got her like iPhone 8, but like like
They
dude,
get so
they're the best,
excited
man.
for you.
They do. I have a video of the truck pull up in up at North America's. I literally can't watch it without crying because my dad is
Why?
losing his shit. Like he is
Aw.
losing it, and it's amazing, dude. Like I got another similar one of the Husafell at Beerstone.
Yeah.
He's not filming the Husafell at all, but just hearing him, like, dude, it's so cool. Like I can't even watch those videos because I am aware of how lucky I am to have them. Like
Do
it's
you ever
awesome.
do you ever use those video sounds to kind of like hype you up when you're having like
Ooh,
a rough? I feel like that would be some amazing
dude,
hype sounds to listen to before you get on stage. You're like, this is
dude.
my why. This is who
Maybe,
supports.
yeah, dude. Like they're it's unreal. Like
All right.
yeah.
So one of the cool things that I learned about you and your family is your dad. I saw that
Yeah.
he's in the Pacific Northwest Football Hall of Fame. How cool is that to have like parents that understand what's
Yeah.
it like to be an athlete and a high performing athlete at
Mhm.
that?
Yeah, no, he's there. I mean, he would joke about it that like basically until I went pro in strongman and like basically the last year, the running joke is like my dad's still the best athlete in our family. Um, he played semi pro for like 15 years, which he would strongly not advise anyone to do. But towards the end, he was like that Will Ferrell movie with semi pro basketball. Like
Yeah.
he's like, I'm the defensive coordinator, I'm a player, I'm a captain, and I kind of own the team. Like,
Yeah.
like that was real. Like that was like actually
No
how it
bears
was.
though, right? No bears?
Huh? No,
No bears?
no,
No
no
live
bears,
bears?
no bears in the stadium. But yeah, they went. Yeah, he played Pierce County Bengals, which is just the local semi-pro team, and he went. He's got a couple rings like for the national title. I think they went like 90 something and 3 in a 3 or 4 year period. Just a disgusting win percentage. They
Yeah, I
played some
saw
good football.
77, 7-1.
God, that's what it is. Okay, I don't want to
Yeah.
misquote. So you did the research,
I did.
but
I
no,
told
man,
you.
he's that man. That man. He had a couple guys off his team go pro, which like apparently was more common in that era as opposed to now. Like semi-pro now, I feel like is just dudes that don't want to hang it up. Like, yeah,
The XFL and things like that. Yeah.
well, no, XFL I feel like is even that. I feel like that's what semi-pro is now, right? Is like
Okay.
XFL and whatnot. Like guys who legitimately were good in college and have a shot at maybe going to that next level. When I tell you semi-pro now, I mean like I can name like I'm in the Tacoma area. There's like 4 or 5 teams that I could drive 10 minutes and go to, right? It's just dudes in their late 20s that just want to play football. There's probably 2 or 3 guys on the team that actually think they're going to go pro, which is hilarious.
Aw.
I'm not saying they're bad, but
Yeah.
like it's not an actual proper feeder system in any professional football. There's occasionally sure there's guys that probably go up to like Canada or XFL. But it's not like what it was like the way he describes it. I mean, there'd be guys that would go do pro days all the time. Like they would go to run 40s up at UW because there was guys getting recruited, and there would be guys from like UW and like UPS and POU, the major like schools in this area, would play in the off season on the semi-pro team. So it was pretty cool. It sounded like an awesome team, and the way he talks about it's like some of his like fondest memories. Like, but yeah, he's a damn good athlete, and he definitely understands the work it
How do you
takes.
think how do you think he would do in the sport of strongman if he was doing it today?
Funny enough, like we actually asked him that question this last show. We were sitting there watching some like old Super Series show on like Santa Monica Beach. It was like old Marius competing, and we're sitting there with my dad, and Alec actually asked him, "I was like, how do you think you would have been interested in this stuff if it was bigger when you were in your 20s and 30s?" And I don't think he'd ever even considered it, like because he was like, he did his highest level of sports in the 70s. Like he's like, we did squats, we did bench, and we went to work. Like, but I mean, he's a strong dude. He's 5'8", 5'9", so he probably would have struggled in the stereotypical 5'8", 5'9" dude events. But
Yep.
he honestly probably would have been a 90 kilo guy or a 105 guy. Like he played football at like 5'8", 230, 240. Like he played fullback
Out.
back
He
when
was
fullback was a
stocky.
thing. Yeah, no, he's a
Yeah,
brick.
he was a stocky dude.
Yeah, so but he's just not quite as big as me and my brother. So yeah, he probably would have been in the weight classes, but he loves the sport. Like it's just a whole different era. He can't even like relate. Like I don't know. Maybe I would have done it. Maybe I wouldn't. Like he was building pipelines in the summer and playing football in the fall and the winter. Like he was, it's a different era. So
100%. Like my dad, like he watches me do like lifting
sure.
events and football. He was raised in Mexico on the farm, or he was helping my grandpa build furniture.
Hmm.
Like it was always just work, work, work. And he straight up asked me, he's like, how do you think I would have done it? I was like, I feel like the way how competitive he is when it comes to work, like he
Yeah.
wants to be faster than everybody, better than everybody. I'm like, you would probably destroy quite a few people at this,
Yeah.
but I think he would be the type that would push himself too hard where he would accidentally get injured
Yeah.
from pushing himself too hard. Because you know those people, right? Like
Yeah.
they want
And
it
you
so
could.
bad no matter what that they don't know how to pace themselves
Mhm.
a little bit better nowadays that most athletes do a better job of versus back
Yeah.
then where it was like go all out.
Yeah. Yeah. We got a couple around the gym that's like it's a good thing to have a coach. And like
Yes.
like it's I mean it's almost as dangerous. It's almost more dangerous. Like you got to be reeled in as opposed to like you got to encourage them to go. Like those people, you got to
Yep.
pull them back. Yeah. I mean, I'd rather coach that I got to pull them back people than that I got to encourage them to go people. But yeah, it comes with its challenges for sure.
Coaches are the best governors
Yeah.
for
Yeah. Until we're
like
wrong. Until we're wrong. Yeah.
that's true.
'Cause
It
I've been
happens though.
wrong.
We're
I've been
human.
wrong, man.
All right, you said something about the feeder system in football. So I kind of want to come back to the strongman side. And again, you're making a video because you want to put yourself out there because you have had this success. What do you think we can improve in the sport of strongman on having a more streamlined feeder system to bigger and bigger and bigger shows?
So that's kind of a tough one because you know what, honestly, and I didn't mean that video is like it's messed up. We need to fix it now. Like I
Oh
think there
no,
are issues, but
yeah,
to be completely fair, and it was funny. A couple people DM me. It's like, did you know if you get top 3 at OSG, you can go to Giants Live? Or did you know that if you do the Shaw Open, you can qualify for the Shaw? Did you know that if you do first at the Arnold Amateur, you can go to the Arnold? Like, I'm aware of the feeder system, right? Like, there is a good, proper feeder system. It just gets a little blurry when it's like compare, especially like with American athletes, because there's just so many of us. It's like OSG is this funnel that 3 people are just jamming their way through a year. Um, And in the context of American, okay, so there's probably 48 dudes. I think there's 48 that are going to OSG in 2 weeks.
Or in
The
your division?
and yeah, as far as open men, sorry, to
35.
be
35 in yours.
okay. Like a decent percentage of them are American,
Yep.
and that is
And Texan.
basically and Texas. Yeah, that's different. Basically, they're trying to shove through that 3-man funnel. But how many dudes are regularly at Giants Live or have competed at Worlds that have never touched OSG? I'm so thankful for OSG being a thing. But if you look back, like the 30 dudes that went to Worlds this last year, I think I did this. There was 11 or 12 that had done OSG and made the podium and done that traditional funnel. And to be fair, the system that is OSG is only a few years old. It's 6, 7 years old, something like that. So there's guys in that list of 30 that, predate that system. They were already in the elite circuit. But there's a greater number of guys that are in Giants regularly that did not go through the OSG system. They won maybe their national title in a smaller nation, or they did SCL, or they did XYZ. There's a lot of guys that got there through kind of ambiguous ways. Not to say they shouldn't be there, but like to get the pushback of like the only way to get there is this direct route it's kind of just the feedback for Americans right now. Or I feel like the Canadians are kind of in the same boat. There's so many of them as
Yes.
well, and they're all the guys that I was against at North America's, all those Canadians, they're all going to OSG. Like for that, just with the amount of talent in the U.S. and Canada, OSG is kind of our route. It's like, but what's kind of cool is when you do get through that funnel. Look at the 3 guys who podiumed last year. They all kicked ass when they got through it. Like
Yep.
Matt Ragg, Schoonwinkle, Spencer, like they were properly ready. So like I'm not saying that system is flawed, because it's not, because it produces absolute killers in the sport. Like to get through the meat grinder that is OSG, it's a really hard show to win with that many dudes and that variety of events. And it's kind of like the last big show where it takes properly 3 days, like because there's so many athletes, so many divisions. It's a hard show to just stay engaged and do it. I think it's one of the
Unless
hardest
there's
shows
a
in the world to
hurricane.
win.
Unless there's a
Yeah,
hurricane.
yeah,
It's a day and a half.
right. I don't know, man. Like I guess what I was getting at with my video is like to invite the guy that won the pro national title of my country would
Mhm.
not be the most irregular thing that Worlds and Giants has ever done. Right.
Yep.
And I'm not saying like I deserve it. I mean, by bias, I think I am ready. I think I am. I've beaten 7 world strong, or 6. Bobby pulled out real early in the show with an injury, so I don't think that's fair to say. I would have loved to compete against him for the whole
Yep.
show, but I've beaten 6 former world's strongest man competitors in the last 12 months, and won the
That's so
nation,
cool.
and won like my nation's pro title. And I was like, all I was getting at is it wouldn't be the weirdest thing to maybe get an invite or an alternate nod for that. I am completely aware of the feeder system, and I'm thankful for it because I'm going to be
Yes.
in it in 2 weeks, and I'm going to try and make it.
Yep.
But like that's all I was getting at. And I hope everyone that saw it, as far as the promotion staff, like didn't take any disrespect, because that's not what I wanted to
No,
say.
I don't.
No.
When I watched it, I didn't see it as somebody who was like trying to disrespect, because I think one of the problems, and obviously I want to hear your opinion on this, but I think one of the problems that the American strongman world has is that this sport has grown so fast. Like me, I jumped in 2019. Just from 2019 to now, right?
Yeah.
So, so I think there's almost like a bottleneck now, because
Yeah.
Lynn has done a great job with OSG to have that direct path, right?
Mhm.
But there's so many of us. So many people are competing now that could be, pro strongman, and then, put up a good fight at like a world strongest man level competition, right? So I think,
Sure.
do you think that's possibly one of the issues that we run into, that the sport's growing so fast that the promoters can't keep up with how
Yeah,
fast?
or you know what? There's a limited number of spots, and there's basically I would say what there's 30 to 40 dudes in the world that like strongman's their job, and 15 of them are doing well. 5 of them are actually doing well. There is this scarcity at the top, and as there's a bigger and bigger pool, you're going to feel the pains when you're trying to fit through these funnel points to go to the next level. Now I don't know how to fix that. Because you know what, I could name 3 or 4 other dudes just in the States, especially, or dudes in Canada that like should be at Worlds. Like they're good
Yep.
enough. Like Wes Strowinski, I tied with him up in Canada. That dude is every bit good enough to be at Worlds. Joey Lavallee, every bit good enough to be at Worlds. Everyone talks about the Rayoum brothers, every bit good enough to be at Worlds. One of them's been there, one of them hasn't yet. Like, and I could name 4 or 5 Americans. Like, I don't know how to solve that problem. I do like to entertain like the hypothetical of like, let's say, what if the sport was like CrossFit? Um, Even if you're the guy who won last year, you go to
Mhm.
a regional, you go to the bigger show, you go to the bigger show, you go to the CrossFit Games. It would be, I mean, it would turn the whole sport on its head, and it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
It never would. But it's interesting. Like, I wonder what that roster looks like if it's just because of this feeder system we create. There's 30 dudes that for the next year are going to the 4 majors. They're going to the Arnold. They're going to the Rogue. They're going to Worlds. They're going to Strongest Man on Earth, right? And then the next year, the feeder system starts again, and it would be really interesting. Like, I don't know what it looks like, but it's an interesting hypothetical. If you actually did the best 30 in the world at World's Strongest Man, I think the list looks a little different. I don't think they do too bad of a job. I think it's pretty damn close to the best 30.
Yeah.
But there's usually like 5 or 6 where it's like, okay, I see why we got there. I think there's 5 or 6 other dudes, but you know, I'm
I've
not
thought
saying.
about how the World Cup selects its team. Like each country has kind of like, sorry, each continent or depending on how big the countries are, they have a tournament, and then whichever country has the best, that's the one that goes on to
Mhm.
represent like that area, the country itself, and so on. So I think it'd be kind of cool if the World's Strongest Man had a legit competition system where each country, like if you got first, you get an automatic invite. Because I know you could win other competitions
Mhm.
that are like World Strongest Man related, but you don't automatically get invited into
Yeah,
World Strongest Man. So I think that'd be kind of cool too.
that'd be
Similar
interesting.
to what you were talking about, the CrossFit
Just
thing,
some
that
kind of
actually
feeder
makes more
system.
sense. Yep.
So, and this is a fun hypothetical too. So, like, instead of, because they have established a pretty clear feeder in, it's OSG.
Yeah.
Um, I'd be interested to do it similar to how the soccer leagues in Europe go with I always forget the term for it, but it's like the bottom 2 or 3 teams go down to the lower league,
Deregulated.
deregulated. So
Yeah.
there's this clear path to get to Giants and
Yeah.
to Worlds. We have this interesting thing where there's no clear defining thing as far as private conversations between promoter and athlete saying who doesn't come back, right? Because I think there's this weird relationship with like the guys that are former world's strongest man competitor. It's like, does that guy go back to OSG? Like, at what point is that the proper route, or does he just wait for another invite? And I bet those guys are feeling strange on an island. Like, shit, I might not get invited to anything this year. There's no, I mean, I don't doubt that they've had conversations with these promoters, but
Yeah.
like, there's this weird, probably 10 to 15, maybe 20 guys that are like on the bubble. It's like they don't even know if they're not coming back. And if they, or they, for one reason or another, they do keep coming back, and the guys below are like, come on, man, give me a shot. Give me a shot. Let me see if I can beat that guy.
So
Because
does that
there's,
mean there's a point system where it encourages these strongman athletes to these top level strongman athletes to compete more often at other shows? In
I
other
mean,
words, you
maybe
have to, because I feel like sometimes people, like if you win, like if you're in the top 3 at World's Strongest Man and you just want to focus on World's
stay.
Strongest Man for next
Yeah,
year, you've earned it.
sure. Or like even
But
the final, even the whole
yeah,
final. I'd be cool. You
yeah,
make that top 10? Yeah, come back. Um,
exactly. But
but
what about the other guys that I feel like sometimes because they made it to World's Strongest Man, even if they didn't make the finals, then they just don't do any other competitions, which I think would help the sport and them themselves.
yeah,
Yeah. So
what's
I
what's
like that.
or like the guys that have you maybe made worlds a couple times and they've never done better than like third, and they've never even made the stone off,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yep.
that's an interesting guy. Like or like maybe somebody never does well at Giants, right? They're never out of the bottom 3. Um Maybe
They're the
it's just
Cleveland
kind of
Browns.
sure, yeah, but there's guys that are like that, and it's
Yeah.
like how long are those guys going to still be there, you know? And they earn that spot to get there. It's like, how long are they still going to be there? And it's an outside looking in kind of thing. It's like there's probably 20, 30 guys that are similar to where I'm at, that they're like, well, I think maybe I could beat those guys, but they live in this other ecosystem where I don't get to go against those guys, aside from like guys like JF throwing me a bone and giving me my first real invite up to North America's to actually go against some of these dudes. But it's
Yeah.
such a rare opportunity to go against them that it's like when you're in the lead pack, you get all the press. Like Law's channel covers the show you did. And now the common fan who doesn't follow closely is like, dude, he's good because Laws said he's good. He's
Yep.
probably actually good. But you get what I'm saying? They live in this other ecosystem that the dudes beneath are like, well, I got 2,500 followers. I'm beating dudes, but nobody knows I exist. And it's like, to be fair, like it's a fair criticism. I haven't earned my spot in that group yet. I haven't got the invite, and I'll be damn excited when it's my time. I'm not complaining by saying this. I just think it's interesting. Like we're all fighting for the same spots. We all want pro strongman to be our real job, and there's only so many guys that can do that. And there's formal ways to get in, and that's the way in.
So I want to touch on something that you mentioned. You mentioned like you have 2,500 followers or whatever, and then you're performing well. But I think part of the reason that Strongman in the position that it's in right now, in the like, I feel like it's in the teenager years right now,
Yeah.
before it matures and whatnot. And a lot of that a lot of the name recognition is not going to come from the competitions. It's going to come from your social media presence.
Yeah.
So sorry, go ahead.
No, go for it. I don't want to cut you off.
No, so I think you putting yourself out there, I thought that video was more about you putting yourself out there, like being like, hey, I feel like I've put in the work. These are my accomplishments. Like, put me on the spot in different ways. In other words, on your social media, here doing interviews with here are strong personalities. You did World's Strongest Opinions. And I think that's something that some athletes don't realize, like business wise, you don't realize that social media is part of the business, name recognition. Like you look at CrossFit, there's some athletes that don't necessarily get in the top 10 on a regular basis at CrossFit, but they get invited to shows because of their social media presence. Does that they have a brand or they have a story that people like? You have to have a story that sticks to somebody's heart. Because like some of your favorite athletes, like name some of your favorite athletes.
In this sport? In this sport or generally?
Any sport that you're like, man, I have followed them for their whole career. Just give me a few.
Ryan Krauser from Shot Put.
Okay.
Yes. Most of the athletes that I really follow are track and field.
Okay, so did you follow them just because of what they accomplished on the field, or was there more to their life story, to the way that they prep, that the way that they present themselves when they're on camera, that you just clicked with?
With a lot of the guys that I followed, it was a lot to do. I didn't care so much for like the formalized like content.
Yeah.
It was more like they're going to throw, and I like how they throw. I like to follow who their coach is and like that kind of stuff. And it was a lot of their competitive success too. I guess I have kind of a weird stance on this. So like coming from security, like I've worked with many famous people, working. We manage large concert venues. So like starstruck is like not a thing that I do. So I guess I'm not a fan in that traditional sense of many people. I'm kind of a weird one. I follow because of the craft, right? Like, I love like Mitch Hooper and Martins, like some of my favorite guys. I love how they compete because they're well-rounded and they're bringing athleticism to a sport that everyone's forgotten is a sport, right?
Yep.
It's not like but I don't care so much for like Cooper does a lot of influencer type content. I have no part of me follows for that content. It doesn't matter to me. And I think that's what I was getting at with my video. It's so like that kind of traditional, like there is a clear path to get that 50, 60, 70,000 followers. It's many people have done it without achieving a damn thing. Right.
Yeah.
It's just so far out of my personality to like, let's go make silly videos in the gym and like do this trend or this and this and that. Like for me, it was like, me making that video was I'm admitting I'm real bad at traditional social media. I would rather go real grassroots with this thing, right? Like there's 2 or 3 other versions of that video that are specific to like my hometown and like local 32, the union that my dad was in. My brother is a current member and he's going to share it with the local, right? Like there's one for PLU football alum that's just for that Facebook page. And I'm like, I'd rather go so grassroots with it because that's so much more who I am. And I don't blame those guys that do those videos and do that stuff because they have fun and they love it and they make money off it. And at some point, I'm going to have to do some of that stuff. I can't ignore the fact that this sport is a show and is about selling tickets. I mean, World's Strongest Man is a reality show.
Yes.
Like it is a legitimate competition to prove who is the strongest man in the world, but it is also a TV show. Like, and I can't ignore that element of the sport. And for someone to pass up an invite on me over somebody who everyone knows, who is also equally competitively successful, they're not wrong for that. They're not. They're correct. They're selling tickets, and that guy has a proven track record that I haven't done yet. I think I'm good enough to do it when you do invite me. But like, I don't blame them for making the decisions they make because, you know, they got to do what they got to do.
No, so and for me, I wasn't even thinking about like content. It was more about like you putting yourself out there, showing a little bit more of your story. The example that, and then the person that you kind of remind me the most, just based on our conversation here in the last 40 minutes, is Trey Mitchell, because Trey Mitchell doesn't do the content thing.
Yeah.
But the few videos I have seen about him where like they followed him to like showing the equipment that he's made for himself when starting off with. The stories I've heard of people like, hey, I went against him when I was a teenager and he was that, like, that's more of what I see you doing.
Yeah.
But that's the story that a lot of people gravitate towards Trey Mitchell, because it's like he's just your blue collar guy that's been chipping away every single year. That's the more vibe I get. So for me, it's more like you have to put yourself out there, not necessarily for the other strongman athletes, because they'll look at you as an athlete like themselves versus the audience that we need to help grow the sport. That's the story that I'm thinking about, that the audience needs to learn, so that way they connect to the sport, because a lot of people are never going to be able to do the weights that you can. But if they, you know, hear about your dad, they hear about your brother being freakishly strong and you want him to do like a side quest where he does the hammer hold, right?
Yeah.
So that's the stuff what I'm saying, that I feel like more strongmen could put themselves out there once they start piling up those accolades, to really connect to the audience, and then kind of have that grassroots call to have them at more competitions.
Yeah. And you know, what's like the cool thing about that video, for better or worse, like I might have annoyed some people because I got tagged a couple hundred times. Those people follow me now. A few of them did ahead of time, but they follow me now. And some reached out and some didn't. And it started some conversations, and that's not anybody's business to know what those were. But like, it kind of worked, right? Like if I got I got onto people's radar, and like, if I have to be a little annoying to be like, here's all these quantifiable metrics of a sport that I can do. You just don't know about me yet.
The oil. Hey, the squeaky wheel gets the oil.
Yeah. And like, what's cool is a couple of the bigger pros have reached out, kind of offering advice, for better or worse. Like, that was a good move. That was a bad move. But a couple of them, so a common theme was like, I got to go to this show, or like my first opportunity, because I asked, right? I just asked.
I remember him talking about it.
A dude got into Magnus this weekend because he was just going to attend. And he's like, I'm going to be there anyways, dude. I'll bring my stuff. And Magnus saw his DM and let him in the show. Like, like for the dudes who had to go to like multiple shows all over the world to try and qualify for that show. And this dude is just like, he's like, yeah, I did my first comp last October. And I'm just a fan. I'm like, dude, that's hilarious. But, you know, and like getting to go to North America's last year, it was like, I got put on the alternates list, and I just kind of talked back and forth with JF. I'm like, dude, I'm ready. And somebody dropped out, and it was time, right? Like, but it was kind of, if I wouldn't, and I can't even take credit for them. Alec, you know, he's more outgoing and is better at this side of it than me. Like, he's good at asking, right? Like, and sometimes a promoter has a hole to fill, and they're like, yeah, let's do it. Or they just say no, right? Like, they might not even respond to the DM, but like, there's nothing wrong with just asking.
The worst that can happen is no, right?
Yeah. Or you're blacklisted from our organization ever, but like we haven't got that one yet. But
I hope not. Just for asking, I
no,
hope
no, no,
not.
no. But there's some weird stuff in this sport, man. Like,
Yes.
because like at the end of the day, it's people get to make decisions who gets invited. It is what it is.
All
And
right.
you know what? I think all those people have done a hell of a lot to build this sport, so I don't blame them, and they're doing a damn good job of it.
Oh yeah, I mentioned earlier, I feel like this is the strongman era where they're kind of going through their teenage phase before they really mature into like what's going to really carry them into the future. What do you enjoy? What do you enjoy reading?
Dude, that is my biggest. It's one of the things business partner giving me a hard time about. I'm not much of a reader, actually. I'm not. I can audiobook. The act
That
of sitting
counts.
down to read.
It
I
counts.
think I'm aggressively ADHD, unmedicated,
No.
getting after it. Yeah, so I think the actual act of sitting down and reading. I dive deep into podcasts. But honestly, my time filler in the last few years has been not so much reading. I think I kind of subbed reading out with. I watch like old strongman shows. Like that's my time killer, or it's in the background or whatever. Like, yeah, that's my thing.
Is there a historical feat of strength that you wish you would have seen in person?
Fortissimus up in Canada. It's
Okay.
like I think it was a 12 event contest, and it's one of the coolest moments. Like Zagurnis thinks he has it won because it's a natural stone series, 4 or 5 stones, and the final stone is, I don't want to misquote, I think it's coming up on 500 pounds, and they called it the unliftable stone. And Zagurnis did the first 4 stones incredibly fast, couldn't do the 5th stone, and then Derek Poundstone goes, he's last, and the only way that he can win the show is to beat Zagurnis in that event. And so he had to load the 5th stone. Or no, he didn't yet. He goes through the first 4 slower than Zagurnis. So the only way now is to load the unloadable stone. And you see Zagurnis start to celebrate, which is like kind of rare for him.
Yeah.
And
very stoic.
Like he picks up the stone to the lap. It's like, oh shit. He starts to rise, like, oh shit, he's gonna do it. And Zagurnis has this moment, oh no, I celebrated too soon. But like, if I had to pick a historical contest to be there for Fortissimus, a single event, that. Like, I would have loved to seen that. Like, and what was cool up at North America is the production team that, so that show was put on Canadian television. The production team that covered North America's was the same production team that did Fortissimus like 15 years ago. Like the head of production was the same dude. Like they actually asked me in interviews ahead of time, like, what's your favorite old strongman show? I'm like, Fortissimus. And the dude behind the camera was like, I filmed Fortissimus. I was like, that's the coolest thing in the world, man. Like, no, but that's all-time favorite show to watch because they did like a back lift and like a crazy dumbbell ladder, all kinds of crazy stuff.
My favorite, it kind of has to do with Big Z as well. There was a log press, and again, he's like all-time best when it comes to the log press. And then he had just hit, I think, 400 or something along those numbers. He had the highest one, but there was a guy there that was doing split jerk. And this is the earliest I remember seeing somebody in strongman that at that level do any kind of split jerk. And it was like that really short split jerk, but it was a split jerk.
Okay.
So the guy comes up behind him, and Big Z looked like he was just like, I'm done. Like, he's not going to get it. And he does a split jerk, and Big Z's like, and then how casually he goes up, lifts the next log, puts it down again. He's strict pressing it, and I can just imagine what he could do if he could split. And then the guy tries to do the split jerk, and he just drops it. And it was just one of those where I was like, all right, so I'm not the only one who's thought like split jerking. Why aren't we using it more in strongman? But just the way Big Z just casually kind of is surprised and then just goes up and beats him.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Dude, I had a buddy in this area. I think Sojournus a couple years ago did a seminar out here, and he went to the seminar, and it was
where's here, by the way?
Oh, I'm up in Auburn, Washington, is where the gym's at, which is basically right between, kind of east of, like if Seattle is here, Tacoma's here, a little east, and in the middle is Auburn. I live in Tacoma, up in Washington State, but Sojournus did a seminar up here. And it came to the part where he was going to help people with their log technique. And my buddy Franklin, he said that he did his split jerk. Sojournus looked at him and was just like, "No, like that's not good. That's not good. I don't like this." Oh my god! Like, I mean,
what's your opinion on this? I know you split jerk.
yes,
And I know there's a lot. I feel like split jerking is it gets a little hate, not as much as sumo in powerlifting, but it does get a little bit. Does split jerk belong in strongman?
yeah. If you want to win,
I just want to hear you say it because it validates mine.
Yeah, the two guys who did the heaviest axles at North America's and probably could have pressed more. We just couldn't clean it. Both split jerk. And I know Rob was kind of in the modern era, the guy that paved the way on that. I mean, prior to him, there was a couple guys that did it. I mean, actually, the first log ever over 400 in contest was a split jerk. It was.
I know that.
I'd have to. It's an Old Worlds. It's like in front of. They did the log in front of like a pool. I'd have to look it up. I don't want to misquote who it was, but it was a split jerk. The first log in contest that was over 400 pounds was a split jerk. The guy's been doing it for a long time. I still can't split the log. I don't know why. I think it's because I'm like my T-spine's so arched back in that position. Yep. I can't get the kind of dip and drive where I actually properly leave the earth. So I still push press the log and Alec is,
earth. I love that.
That's what it is, man. You got to leave the ground. Alex still gives me a hard time about it because I mean he has like full on weightlifting background. So he's like split jerk everything. Like it's the best. I'm like, yes, you're actually correct. I just did 10 years of football and bench pressing, so I lack the mobility to do everything you want me to do, man. Like I still can't front rack, and he thinks I'm the biggest piece of shit for not being able to front rack, but like it's just not gonna happen for me, man. Like it's just not. Like I've had 470 pounds in the front rack, and I was still 2 inches off the shoulder. Like I can't. There's just it's tissue built up over time, and just once you lose it, you lose it. Like when I competed as a weightlifter, I had a front rack. It was kind of bad, honestly. It was like barely in the fingertips, and then I would do that like heavyweight out of the bottom of the clean. I would get to the top and do this bounce into my hands.
Yeah,
I never properly had a front rack. I have embarrassingly bad upper body mobility. Aside from like lockout position, because we work that literally every day to just maintain it. But yeah, no, it's the split jerk's here to stay, and guys that can do it are going to keep beating you.
You know who I think is which athletes are the craziest though? The split jerkers with dumbbells.
Yeah,
especially like the circuit. When I see that, I'm like, I thought I was a little crazy. You're completely crazy. I'm out. Like there's so much room for error.
I haven't messed with it. I mean, I think a lot of the best guys that do dumbbell, Rob is really the only one that's like a pure push press. They're all doing some kind of jerk.
Yeah.
I guess Trey does a push press as well. Bobby's a little bit of a push press.
It's Trey though.
It's Trey. Like Trey's not going to jerk. But yeah, like the guys who are 300 pounds, not World's Strongest Man final 300 pounds, but like actually 300 pounds on dumbbell, they're all jerking it. Actually, I'd stand corrected. Dimitar exists. I always forget about Dimitar, and we can't sleep on Dimitar. He doesn't jerk either. Yeah. Also, I don't think I've heard anyone hype this up yet, and I think it's worth noting.
Yeah.
I think Dimitar is the strongest athlete of all time. Because he posted this triple that I don't think anyone else in history has ever done. 1,000-pound squat in contest, 1,000-pound deadlift in contest. He listed a 528 push press that he has a video of, which he hasn't done a 500 overhead in contest, but like the triple of 1,000 squat, 1,000 deadlift, 500 overhead. Nobody else in history. Nobody. 500. And everyone's like the modern strongman has forgotten who Dimitar is. I'm like, dude, Dimitar is that dude. Like, like it's crazy, man. Like if somebody did 2 of those, they'd be Thor. You know what I mean? Like Dimitar, like Thor is the kind of guy who's done like 2 of those.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like that. It's crazy. People don't realize what Dimitar's done.
All right, so I'm going to ask you a few like rapid fire questions here for the last 5 minutes of the conversation. All right.
Sure.
So, what athlete do you like is the most relatable to you? Like, who do you compare athlete wise, like when it comes to strength feats, how you perform in different events, who like it could be somebody present or somebody historically.
Lawless. He is my favorite to watch. And I think he's one of the best guys to never win worlds that damn near should have, but he just caught a year where they had really high power steers at the end. But he's wide, athletic, fast, well-rounded. Like I look up to his competition style, and he's physique goals for me as well.
So how tall are you? How tall are you?
6 foot.
How much you weigh?
And I'm a real one. I'm a real 6 footer. I can do it. I'm not lying. I swear to God, I'll do it on camera.
Okay.
Everyone's like, nobody's actually 6 foot. They're all just 5'11" and lying. No, but
yeah,
I'm about 350 right now. I feel okay at 350. Probably should be a little smaller, honestly.
So real quick, my best friend is 6'10".
Okay.
And then I'm 6'1".
Yeah.
So when we go out drinking, somebody always asks how tall he is, and it's always these guys that are a little too drunk, right? It's over here in Fort Worth, Texas. So we like to mess with them because he'll be like, "Oh, I'm 6'5", and like these guys are like, "No, because your friend's almost 6'1", and I'll look at them. I was like, "No, I'm 5'9", and they just look
just doubt their whole life.
Yeah, they're just devastated. But sorry, what's the biggest difference you have seen from when you started this?
You broke up there a little bit.
Sorry, what's the biggest difference you have seen in the in strongman from 2000? What was it, 17 when you started? Mm-hmm. No, 2018 to now.
I am very thankful for the shift from the mass monster era to the athlete era of this sport. The peer group that I feel like I fit in with is this one, like the Martins, the Hoopers, the Novikovs, the Mateus, like those guys excite me to compete against. I need a couple years to go against some like 2017 Eddie or 2018 Thor. Like it was a different sport. Like you could do 1,000-ton deadlift.
435 when he won it.
Yeah, it's just like, but that's just where the sport was, and like,
yeah,
I think it's a cool era to watch. And I think a couple years from now, I could be statically in a place where that era doesn't intimidate me. But it's pretty wild what those dudes could do.
Yep.
Yeah.
What would in one sentence, what advice would you give Lucas when he first started strongman, based on your experience now?
Find a coach sooner.
Is this because you were a coach and you were kind of like a little too
I wasn't a coach yet.
You weren't? Okay.
No, I coached my first person in 2020 because I had a little illegal gym operation in my garage, which was a squat rack and some adjustable dumbbells. And my buddy Chuck,
the skeletons are coming out.
Yeah, I'm thankful for him though. Chuck was my first client. Like I had coached track, but I didn't consider myself like a strength coach of any kind. And my buddy Chuck was like, I just started powerlifting. I got good momentum. Now the gyms are closed. Can I train with you? And then it was like, can you coach me? I was like, I'm not a coach. Trade me. When I run out of pre-workout, just buy me some more. I'll write your program. Like that was literally the exchange. And now I'm on block like 38 with him. Like we've done one a month since then. You know what I mean? Like he's my first client and I still have him. And now I'm over 20. Like, yeah, dude.
That's
I
awesome.
wasn't. Yeah. And I've learned a hell of a lot since then.
So this is a deep dive.
Okay.
Why didn't your Ninja Warrior course career take off?
Yeah, you saw that. That was good.
Yeah.
Was
it only that one run in the kids section?
that was the only complete course that I could do was the kids section. You just stack too many upper body obstacles in a row against a 320-pound dude. It's not going to recipe for success. But I have done a fairly high warped wall, like much higher than the one that one's in. But yeah, the grip and my weight is just I'm never gonna be what I want to be in that sport.
So we had somebody's birthday and it was at a gymnastics place. It was like her 40th birthday. And then what's it called? The one where they run towards it and then they like bounce off of it. Is it the vault or something? You know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So I saw somebody do it and then I was just like, I could do a flip. And I did it like 3 times. And then I finally like flipped and landed. And the lady looks at me and goes, I think you're the heaviest person that I've seen manage that. And I was like, yeah.
Yes. Victory.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
It was horrible, but I'll take that. All right, hold up. I'm trying to find this image because I need a little backstory on this.
Okay.
Hold up.
Oh, you're just going to encourage some interesting deep dives on my Instagram, and I actually hope people do. I hope people do because there's some fun.
I like the
fun old stuff on there.
celebration post for North America's Strongest because it's you and Trey on the cropped image, just like opening up champagne bottles, and I think that's the only competition where the athletes are celebrating like that.
Yeah. Oh, he couldn't figure out how to open up the champagne bottle. It's because it wasn't fair. We got our bottles first, me and Wes, and he was dealing with a check and trophies and all this stuff and a speech. That there's all this stuff going on, and then like 2 seconds before they're like, pop the bottles, they gave Trey his bottle. So like it looked like Trey just didn't know how. I'm like, no, he just had a disadvantage, didn't have time.
Yeah, y'all had extra prep time, I guess, compared to him.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna be so upset because there's of you, and I think you're in a costume, and you look like either Weird Al.
Oh! I know exactly what this is. No, I was dressed.
Find it, or else it's not going to make sense.
They're not going. They got to be able to see it.
Yeah, give me 1 second. Hold up. Oh my gosh, how far back was this?
It's way back. It's probably in my first. No. Probably like 2020. Because it was like a throwback thing. Because I did that in college, but I don't think I made my Instagram until after college.
Yeah, it doesn't like a lot of your. You have throwbacks to, like I saw your throwback to shot putting as a freshman, and I think you hit like a PR of some sort.
Yeah, like when I made my Instagram, I think I just posted like 20 old training or throwing videos, and I was like, sure, that's a start. And
all right, I'm about to post it, share it so people can see it. Let me see. I've actually never shared something, so let me see. Share screen. Share screen. All right. What screen is this on? I found it. Okay.
Cool.
All right. Explain this. What is going on here?
Okay. So I'm dressed as my head coach in college. His name's Scott Westring. He is like 6'4", 6'5", got the dad jeans going, some kind of POU polo, has a legendary mustache, and a hairstyle that is totally not a perm. Right. But this is the dude who just I've never seen such a high energy individual in my entire life. He's just you can't keep up with him from like 5 a.m. till 10 p.m. So lucky to have this dude as my coach, but he was just like, because of his energy, he was almost this like larger than life character. And it was funny. I walked into the gym and everyone knew exactly who I was dressed as. And I was we were at like a volleyball game or a basketball game, and I was calling plays from the top, just yelling nonsense. Like, oh my God, that was a good time. I don't think he found that as funny as I did.
Of course.
No, but his son actually helped me. That was like his PLU football polo. His son let me borrow.
You went all out for this. I love it.
I was like, oh, I need to dress as Scott Westring one time. And for everybody watching, if you've never heard of his dad, Frosty Westring, one of the winningest coaches in college football history, and he has one of the best books you'll ever read called The Secret of the Big Time, I think is what it's called, by Frosty Westring. Life-changing book, one of my favorite books. I actually probably should have answered that when you first asked me about books. But yeah, The Secret of the Big Time by Frosty Westring. Him and his son did some awesome stuff at PLU with the football team for the better part of 3 or 4 decades. Like, very lucky to be part of that.
Awesome. What are your expectations for OSG? You got 4th last year. You're on a roll right now.
I am on a roll. It's tough events. So I think my weekend is going to be determined by the frame Denny Stones medley and by the Go Ruck medley. I think statically I'm every bit of where I need to be. Press should be top 5. Deadlift should be top 5. Throwing bag should be top 5. Stones, I'm hoping to win. Like Stones, I'm so excited about Stones because I haven't been able to show that in the show yet. But Stones have been just on a. But yeah, it'll come down to those 2 medleys. The frame, I think it's debatably the weights they picked are pretty wild.
Yes.
800 pounds, and it just depends on how that frame's built. Like, and I think a lot of people think they have that 800 in hand in the bag because they can do it on their frame. We don't know what these frames are like. So I think a lot of guys aren't going to finish that think they're going to finish, and then the go ruck medley is just going to be wild. I don't think anybody knows how that's going to go. You strap up the backpack and go.
So I've been fortunate enough that I train at the same gym that Stephen Good does. And I've been there a few times where he's been doing the ruck and then the sandbag. And then, oh my gosh, that looks so brutal.
It's horrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not excited about it. I have it tomorrow. I have my last session of it tomorrow, and I'm dreading it.
I straight up told him at one point, I helped him and his girlfriend. I was like, you know what, Steven, just rest. That looked brutal. I'll help her put up your weights because he was so red. Oh, that looked brutal.
I think, if you're standing after that one, you messed up. Like, you didn't do it. You didn't do it right. No, you just didn't do it right. Like, even if you finish in like 25, 30 seconds, you just, in your standing, you didn't do it hard enough. Right? Like, especially, it's just who could go into that pain cave and come out the other side. Like, yeah, it's going to hurt.
Yeah, it is.
But no, I do think I can definitely podium. But I could name 20 guys that should be good enough to make the final and only 10 get to. I could name 5 to 10 guys that should podium and only 3 get to. So it's just a really cool group of guys that all get to be in one show. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, so I'll actually get to see you there because I'll be flying out there. So I can't wait to actually meet you in person and actually shake hands because I don't think we actually met at Beerstone. I want to say a big thank you for jumping on here. I really like that you put yourself out there with that video. It means that your ego's not leading the way here. It's your heart leading the way because you just want to show people what you can do, what you've been working towards. So yeah, again, thank you so much for your time. And I look forward to seeing what you're able to do at OSG in the future.
Yeah, man, I really appreciate it. It's been a good time.